Hi, my name is Adora Padilla, and today we'll be discussing pit bulls. I'm sure we've all heard similar things about them. Are they dangerous, aggressive, violent? Well, today we're here to answer that question. Does the pit bull live up to its reputation? Is its stereotype justified? We're going to overview a few different things that's going to help us answer that question. We're going to look at the characteristics of pit bulls, what makes a pit bull, also their predisposition, and how they got their reputation. So to start, pit bulls are extremely energetic dogs. They love to play, they love to be outside, as do many breeds, but that's easily trainable with a little bit of exercise and obedience training. The dogs are also extremely adaptable. They love to be in any setting, really, house, apartment, traveling, etc. The dogs love to learn. So once they've set, and they're also very determined. So once they've set their mind to something, a task or an activity, they're not really going to stray from that idea until it's complete. The Villalobos Rescue Center, which is a notable rescue center that solely focuses on pit bulls, mentions human aggression, severe shyness, and instability are not traits typically found and accepted in the pit bull breed. So it's not typical for these dogs to be aggressive. A little bit of background about them is that they descended from the Old English Bulldog, which are still around today, but the pit bull has progressed into its own breed of dog. And they were originally meant for bull baiting. So they assisted hunters, and their task was to grab large animals by the face and neck so that they could be more accessible to the hunter. Once that was outlawed, dogfighting extremely rapidly increased into a huge epidemic. Lots of people started rings for entertainment, money, etc. But due to the background of this dog, they're more likely to exemplify these traits today. For instance, the ASPCA has a saying that says, pointers are more likely than poodles to point, and sheepdogs are more likely than lapdogs to herd, which applies to pit bulls as well. If they're bred to do a certain task, it's common for them to exemplify traits that they needed to do that task. But this predisposition that they have doesn't mean that they're bad dogs. It doesn't mean that they don't make good pets. The ASPCA also says, while a dog's genetics may predispose it to behave in certain ways, genetics do not exist in a vacuum. Rather, behavior develops through a complex interaction between environment and genetics. And it's true. The environment the dog grows up in is 50% responsible for how the dog acts. So the reputation started in the late or mid 1900s, but in the early 1900s, pit bulls were seen as the all-American patriotic dog. They were on the posters for the American military during World War I. They were associated with short films such as the Buster Browns. It was a compliment for an athlete to be associated with a pit bull. It just meant that they were a great performer. But all that changed during this one event. According to Caesar's Way, Caesar is a self-acclaimed dog whisperer who has his own TV show, and he says, from the turn of the century until the early 1980s, there is exactly one dog attack story to make national papers and mention pit bulls. The event he's talking about was in 1947 in Florida. It was reported that a man sicked 26 dogs to kill a woman, which they did, but that's what they were trained to do. That's what this man intended them to do, and so they did that. It was obviously a crime committed by a human that was portrayed for the dogs to be vicious, when that really isn't what happened. So that kind of spiraled everything out of control. 40 years later, Florida made the first breed-specific ban, and that was for pit bulls. Again, in the 1980s, dogfighting surged. Again, it was associated with gang members, drug dealers, all of that. And, it was common for pit bulls to be seen in that environment, obviously not by choice, though. So by 1987, every proposed ban on pit bulls became law. So if you wanted to outlaw a pit bull, you could. The media and neglectful pet owners continues this cycle every day. The media portrays pit bulls in a negatively manner with misleading details. For example, an article written by Josh Harlan says that a Siberian Husky murdered an infant, and on the local news station, it was reported as a tragic accident. Well, within the same month, the same event happened in Nevada, only with a pit bull, and it was broadcast nationwide on 200 different media outlets with pit bull in the headline. So the media portrayed it, from a tragic accident to an attack, basically. Also, lots of dogs are labeled as pit bull when they're not. It's actually hard for professionals to determine the true DNA of a dog without their pedigree information, which is likely never. Josh Harland also referenced the Journal of Applied Animal Welfare Science to say 87.5% of the dogs identified by an adoption agency as having specific breeds in their ancestry did not have all those breeds detected by DNA analysis. So it's hard to tell a dog's breed just by looking at it. And a lot of dogs that aren't pit bulls that, attack are reported as pit bulls. So, since they are the preferred breed of dog for fighting, they're often owned by criminals, gang members, or drug dealers. Again, it's common for the dogs to be owned by these people, but it's not something that they chose. It wasn't a lifestyle they chose to be in. So the truth of the matter is that pit bulls are extremely goal-oriented, which gives them a purpose in life. They love to be set with a task. An article by Sarah Enos says, many are not just family companions, but also search and rescue dogs that find missing children and lost dementia patients. They also are great emotional companions. They are great service dogs. They assist with canine units. They do it all. The Villalobos Rescue Center quotes the American Temperament Test Society, which says, as of March 2001, the American Pit Bull Terrier has a current passing rate of 82.3%, which makes him one of the top 5 most stable breed of dog in the country. So, which obviously the dog's past proves, which it was an all-American dog before it snowballed out of control. So they make great pets with the right person. There's a huge difference between an individual dog and an entire breed. You can't clump a certain category of people together and say that everybody's the same in that category. It's the same idea with dogs. You can't expect a whole breed of dog to act a certain way when that's just not the truth. So the next time you judge a pit bull, just remember how it feels when someone judges you. And if you are educated properly, a pit bull can be a great pet for you.